weekly Wednesday webinar, Credit Decoded, where we discuss all things credit, demystify some myths, and really uncover the credit system and find out, what can and can't be done, what the truth is, and most of all, answering all of your questions, all of our viewers' questions. So if you can see on here, the question we picked for this week, a viewer that we had asked, can you dispute a charge-off account? So I'm going to leave that up there just for a couple of seconds while I share this to a couple different places. And if you are on and you can hear, put a 1 on there. If you can see me, put a 2. And if you can hear and see me, put a number 3. So just going to give it a couple minutes here. Let me go ahead and share this. All right, 1 second here. And again, if you're just coming in, if you can hear me, put a 1 in the comments in the chat there. If you can see me, put a 2. And if you can hear and see me, put a 3. All right. One more place here. Let me get it shared here. 2. There. Okay. Perfect. And once again, share this live, share it with your friends, your family. You never know how some of this information can really help somebody out. So go ahead and share it, please. Okay, so let me get right into it. So the question was, we had a viewer write in and ask, can you disputed a charge-off account? So we get that question quite often, and it's a good question. So the real short answer is that anything on your credit report can be disputed. You can dispute anything on your credit report, from personal information, names, addresses, charge-offs, collections, bankruptcies, late payments, tax liens, repossessions, foreclosures. Anything can be disputed. But what you have to remember is that you have to have a reason to dispute something. So you can't just dispute something because you don't want it on your credit report, or you don't like it on there, it's hurting your credit. You have to be able to justify and dispute it for a reason. Okay, so that's a lot of times where learning about credit and learning about these different laws would help you. Okay, so there's some real obvious things, some real obvious reasons you can dispute something. If there's a date wrong, if the date's not correct, if the balance is wrong, anything that you see that's wrong with the account, that's inaccurate. So every account on your credit report must meet at least 3 pieces of criteria. It must be accurate, timely, and verifiable. If not, you have the right to dispute that account and ask for removal from your credit report. Okay? Now, most people, if the account's yours, it's yours, right? There's no sense in lying. There's no sense in saying, I hear people say, just say it's not yours, and if they can't verify it, it'll come off. Well, sometimes you may get lucky and they can't verify it, but as soon as they do, it comes back on, right? And you're lying also. If it is yours, you're never going to say that it's not yours. What you have to do is research that account and try to find something wrong with the account, an inaccuracy or something that you can hold the credit bureaus or the creditor liable for. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can look for. So we, as a credit services organization, that's where we come in, right? There's a bunch of laws. There's numerous laws. I think there's over 200 laws, like the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, that Anyone reporting on your credit report must follow and abide by. And over 300 or so pieces of data criteria that they have to follow. Okay. So, where we come in as a service, and you can, if you want to yourself, do your due diligence and research, is finding those errors and violations. So, even if an account is yours, you do owe it, there's still a possibility that you can dispute it for removal if you can find some of those violations or errors. Okay. So that's the main thing. There's no magic wand, there's no magic letter, there's no secret hidden tactic. It's basically holding them accountable, you knowing your rights, knowing how they have to report, and holding them accountable, making sure that they're reporting all that data 100% accurately, timely, and verifiable. Okay. So I want to get into a couple things that I hear when people talk about disputing accounts, because people throw that word around a lot, of just dispute it, right? So I hear a lot of people also dispute things on Credit Karma, right? Just about everyone's heard about Credit Karma. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you dispute online like that, and you check the box, there's fine print down there, in where by doing it that way, you give up some of your rights basically. And I don't have the exact verbiage in front of me, but something to the effect of they don't have to reinvestigate, they don't, if they respond within a certain amount of time. So you lose leverage, right? Not only that, you're limited into how you're going to dispute it, right? If you found an account that there's a big issue with it, it's a wrong balance, it's whatever the inaccuracy is, you're limited in how you can report. So I would never recommend doing it online. You could be doing yourself a disservice. For example, everything we do is by mail. Sometimes it may need to be certified depending on if it's going to the creditor or the bureau. So you have that paper trail and that documentation. So one tip, never dispute online. Send that into the actual credit bureaus or directly to the creditor, depending on what you're trying to get done. Okay. So let me look at my notes here. So another thing that I hear about also is, why don't I just go pay the charge off, or in this case, even a collection? Okay. And you should if you owe it, but just know that paying that derogatory, in most cases, 99% of the time, just about, it's not coming off your credit report. It's just going to change the balance to zero. You're not going to be getting calls, and they're not going to come after you for the debt. Okay. But it's still a negative mark. It's still going to impact your credit score. Okay. So, for example, I give the example of getting a speeding ticket. If you get a speeding ticket and you go pay it, right? Well, you're not going to get a warrant. You're going to have that pressure of getting pulled over and maybe getting taken in. But even if you pay it, it's still on your driving record, right? So it's still going to come up. It's still going to impact your insurance. It's still there. It doesn't. You paying it doesn't take away the fact or the record, the entry on your record that happened. Just like paying that charge off or collection doesn't take away the history that you didn't pay it, that you didn't, complete follow through with your obligation with the creditor, whatever it may be, your vehicle, the credit card, whatever it may be. Okay. Now, there are some certain little nuances that you want to take into consideration. There's charge-offs and there's collections. Okay. So charge-offs are usually like with an original creditor, the original company. Like you had a Capital One credit card, you didn't pay it, you went 30, 60, 90, all the way to 6 months late, 180 days, and they charge it off, basically saying it's uncollectible. Okay. And they write it off on their books. Now, if that charge off is a credit card, okay, if you listen to any of my other videos, or a lot of my webinars, you know that the second biggest part of your score is the biggest part of it is called your utilization, which is how much of your revolving credit, your credit cards you're using. Okay. So when you have a charge off, let's say you have that Capital One card and your limit's $1,000 and you went over the limit and now you owe 1,100. Well, not only is that account hurting you because it's a charge off, it's also hurting your utilization, right? Because you have that card maxed out. So that is one instance in where paying the charge off may increase your score, but not because you paid the charge off and it's not negative anymore, but it brought down that utilization. Okay. But in other cases, if it's not a credit card, if it's just a loan, a personal loan, something like that, paying it, okay, 99% of the time, it's not going to increase your score. Okay. Now, what I hear, one of the things I've heard going around a lot that I kind of wanted to touch base on real quick also is when they say if it's been, I see these posts on Facebook, if it's been 6 months and they sell your debt, Capital One sells it to a collection company, portfolio recovery, they say that you don't owe it and it's gone. And that is totally false. Okay. The debt does not go away. That can be assigned. You will now Capital One has to report a zero balance. Okay, because they can't, they're not, you don't owe them anymore. They're not, or they're not going to come after you. They're not trying to collect. But for portfolio recovery per se, if hypothetically they're a collection company, now has the right to collect on that debt. Now you do have rights where you can ask them to validate and make sure they got their ducks in a row. But just because they sold it or it's been 6 months doesn't mean you don't owe it anymore. Okay, so don't fall for that one. There's also been people that have come to me that firsthand experience that have been sued still for that debt. Okay, so at the end of the day, yes, you can dispute anything on your credit report. Just educate yourself a little bit before you do of why you are disputing it. Okay, if there's a blatant error, if it really isn't yours, well, obviously you can do that. If if it was paid by insurance or whatever the case may be, you can dispute anything as long as you have a basis and justification. Okay, so I hope that that answers that viewer's question. And I hope that maybe you had that question and you were wondering, can a charge-off be disputed? So yes, it can. Also, I believe in the post there, let me double check. There should be, I went ahead and put a link. If you would like a free consultation, if you would like for me or one of my consultants, credit experts to go over your credit report with you line by line and give you a consultation and see if there's something that can be done, you can always click that link there. It'll take you directly to our calendar. You can book a phone call. It's a totally free consultation. We show you how to get your credit report for free. We'll go over it with you. It's usually a short, 10 to 15-minute phone call. And if you'd like to, get more in depth after that, then we can explain how we can help you. So definitely, if I were you, if you had any questions, I recommend you always pull your credit report anyways, and I can put a link in there also for you to pull your credit report. But if you call us and set up your appointment, we'll send you the instructions on how to do it. One of my consultants will call you at the scheduled time and we'll go over it with you. And at the very least, you're going to know what's hurting you, what's not, if you have something that that is worth fighting that we can help you with. So I hope you guys learned something new today. Let me know if you guys got any questions that I can answer. I try to keep these to like 10 to 15 minutes because I usually tend to ramble on and go off on a tangent. So I want to try to keep them somewhere 10 to 15 minutes. So we're almost right around that mark. But if someone has any questions, you can go ahead and put them there in the comments and I'll go ahead and answer it right now. If you're watching the replay or this is later, feel free to still leave it there. And I usually try to check back every so often, answer those questions. If you have a question that you would want me to answer live on one of the webinars on a webinar Wednesday, you can send your questions to info, I-N-F-O, at texasconsumercredit.com. And that's all spelled out, info at texasconsumercredit.com. Give me just a second to check the chat here, see if we have any questions here. Okay, looks like we do. So let me see here. As a matter of fact, I think I can even bring it up on the screen here. So give me a second. Here we go. Okay. So Zulma is asking, is Credit Karma a true page to see your credit info? That's a great question. That's one of the questions that I get all the time. So Credit Karma, I personally do not like it, and I will tell you why. Credit Karma is not a credit monitoring site per se. It's actually an affiliate marketing site. So the reason it's easy and to go on there is because if you notice, they're going to be recommending credit cards and loans to you. And the way they make their money is every time you click, every time you apply, they're making money, affiliate commissions off that. If you actually get the card, they make another affiliate commission. So many times they may be recommending something to you that may actually not be the best thing for you, that you may not even qualify for. I think at one time they were recommending American Express. In most cases, they check Experian, and I don't even think they have your Experian score on there. And that's another thing. They only monitor two of the bureaus, and the data many times is not accurate, or it's not complete. It's not all the data. When you see there, when you pull a full credit report, there is a lot more data in there. So it may be good just to, if you're barely getting started, just to kind of, get an idea of what you may have on there. But if you're serious about tracking your credit, monitoring it, or fixing it, a paid credit monitoring site would be best. And I'll link in the comments our recommendation, the ones we use for our clients. If you enroll in our service, it's got a phone app, it's got all three bureaus detailed, and all of that. So it's a great question. All right, we got somebody else here. Robert, how you doing, Robert, my buddy there. All right, does paying a collection raise my credit score? That's a great question. That's another one we get. And the answer is, I never say 100% because in things credit, there's a lot of different things going on. 99.999% the time, no. Okay, it doesn't raise your credit score. Okay, it satisfies the debt, right? You don't owe the creditor anymore. They're not going to come after you. They may not try to sue you, get a judgment. You might not get collection letters and calls, but it's still a collection. It's like I always tell people, if I let you borrow $100 and you tell me you're going to pay me on Friday, and Friday comes around and you don't pay me, a month goes, 6 months, a year, I pretty much say, well, I'm never going to get my money from you. And then you come back, and it's paid a year later, would you borrow money again? Probably not, right? Because you didn't go through with your promise. And that's the way they look at it. Remember, your credit report is your history, right? It's like your report card, and it's gauging your risk. It's gauging, basically, it's saying how likely are you to default within the next 24 months. Okay, so obviously a collection of you not paying someone is a big risk indicator. Okay, so great question, Robert. We get that one a lot. Sometimes people will come to me and say, I don't know why I can't get my score any higher. I've paid, or I don't have, and they'll say, I don't have any collections. We'll pull their credit report. And then what happens a lot of times is that they actually, like happens a lot of time around income tax time, or like even like the stimulus checks right now, and they'll go and pay them because it seems logical, right? And I'm not saying you should never pay your collection, just understand what happens. It's still a negative account. So I had a client that spent a lot, $8,000-$10,000. Credit score did not go up at all. As a matter of fact, I think it went down because some dates got updated and things like that. So ideally, you would want to get it removed from your credit report. And if you actually owe it and you validated and you've gone through all the steps, pay the collection. But before you do that, that's a topic for another video of why you should not pay a collection until you do certain things and take certain steps. That's a whole nother topic that we can get into, and that might be a topic for another video. But great questions. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me check here one more time if there's any other questions. If not, I'll go ahead and sign off. And again, do me a favor, guys, share these lives, share these videos with your friends and family. We try our best to get this information um, out there to educate consumers. There's a lot of misinformation out there. They don't teach us a lot of this in school, and especially with with our current situation, um, you want to get educated on your finances, on your credit, um, when it comes to situations like this, so you can be better prepared to weather the storm when, there's going to be other things that happen. It may not be exactly like this, but there's things that happen and history repeats itself. And there was a big, housing crash in '08, and you want to prepare yourself financially, with your credit, with your finances. And I try to put out as much information out there as I can. So again, leave your questions in the comments. I'll try to get back to them. If you want me to answer a question in detail on one of these webinars, again, send it to info@texasconsumercredit.com. And again, if you want to schedule a 100% free consultation with myself or one of my team members, click the link in the post description there and pick a date and time. And I'm going to just check this one more time. It doesn't look like we have anybody else. So with that said, again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next Wednesday.